Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Sri Mataji. Thank you everyone for coming.
多謝頭先啊媽芝嘅介紹，多謝大家今日嘅嚟臨。
Thank you so much.
Haribo.
So, Hare Krishna everyone. Today we're speaking about the Gita, but we can be a little bit spontaneous. So,
咁咧，我哋今日嘅主題咧係國家梵講，但係我哋咧可以比較隨性啲嘅、隨心啲嘅。
So we'll begin with some singing, but maybe you can think if there is some topic that you're interested in, then we can discuss that. Or if you have questions, we can also do questions. Let's see how we go.
我哋先唱一陣歌，咁咧大家可以諗下會唔會有一啲嘅主題你有興趣嘅，或者有一啲嘅問題你想問嘅，咁我哋完咗之後咧，大家可以去到講出嚟都得嘅。
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari Jai Radha Madhava ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णकृष्णाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी निर्विशेष शून्यवादी अस्मिताय श्री कृष्ण नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत श्री गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम Hare Krishna, everyone. So thank you very much for coming. Very happy to be here.
多謝大家今日嚟到，好開心同大家一齊。
So, yeah, you can take. You can leave it. It's fine. Okay, you can take. No worries. So yeah, I said we can be a little spontaneous. So, does anyone have any topic you're particularly interested in? Then I can pick up, see if you have some ideas, and then we can go. Otherwise, I can also speak something. Let's see.
大家有冇一啲嘅諗法或者一啲嘅話題想去到知道多啲嘅？咁我哋可以今日可以隨性啲嘅。咁咧，如果唔係，我都可以做一個開始。
Anyone? Or would you like me to begin?
定係想我去開始先咧？
In English, we say you have to feel the pulse. So I have to see whether there's something. Okay, Jignesh, you have something?
No, not for now.
Oh, okay. I thought that was a hand. Okay. Oh, Tom had a hand. I saw a hand in that region. So.
I'm wondering if you could maybe speak a little bit about Prabhupada's mood in the first 5 years.
In the first 5 years of coming to America?
Yeah.
Okay.
That mood is very nice.
All right.
咁啊，湯姆杯有一個提議咧，就係想邀請 Maharaj 咧去講一講聖 Prabhupada 咧喺佢一開始去到傳教頭嗰5年嘅時候嘅心水係點樣嘅？
So shall we speak about Srila Prabhupada?
咁我哋一齊去聽一聽 Prabhupada。
So it's mentioned that only when one comes in contact with a spiritual person does their spiritual life begin.
咁有一個講法咧，就係當一個人同一個有靈性嘅人去到接觸嘅時候咧，佢嘅靈性生命咧就開展啦。
In Sanskrit, it's mentioned Ado Shraddha. To begin the spiritual journey, you have to have faith, but faith comes from a spiritual person.
咁我哋有個講法就係，當我哋去到開始靈修嘅生命嘅時候咧，需要有呢一個嘅信念、信心，而呢一個信心咧係嚟自一個有靈性嘅人。
Once there was a conference of saintly people, and they asked the question, "Who is the greatest?"
有一次咧，有一個嘅聚會裏面咧，有好多嘅聖人，咁咧當中有人問：究竟邊個係最偉大嘅咧？
So one sage put his hand up and said, "The sky is the greatest because it covers everything."
咁其中一個聖人咧就話：天空咧係最偉大嘅，因為咧佢覆蓋所有一切。
And then one sage said, "No, no, the clouds are greater because they can cover the sky."
但係有個聖人就話：唔係，係嗰啲嘅雲朵啊，先至係更加偉大，因為佢哋遮住咗個天空。
I'm from London, I know.
我係倫敦嚟嘅，所以我對呢一點好明白。
Another sage said, no, the wind is greater because the wind can move the clouds.
跟住有個聖人話唔係喎，其實應該係風喎，因為咧風咧可以吹得喐呢一啲嘅雲。
Another sage said, no, the mountain is greater because it can stop the wind.
有一個聖人話唔係，係山脈，因為咧佢會阻止呢一啲嘅雲嘅漂移。
Then another sage said, no, the earth is greater because it's holding the mountain.
跟住又有聖人話咧，係呢一個大地先至係更加偉大，因為咧佢係承載住呢一個嘅山。
And then another sage said, no, God is greater because God is holding the earth.
跟住有個聖人講咧，神先至係最偉大嘅，因為咧係佢去到支持住大地。
And then God appeared and said, no, my devotee is greater because he holds me within his heart.
跟住然之後咧，神就話唔係，係話咧係我嘅奉獻者係最偉大嘅，因為咧佢咧去到支撐住，去到維持住我嘅心。
Krishna say tomar, Krishna dite paro, tomar shakti ache. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, you can give Krishna because you have Krishna.
巴基維多塔古咧曾經講過，你可以咧去到給予 Krishna，因為你擁有 Krishna。
So Srila Prabhupada, he came to America to give Krishna.
聖帕巴咧去到美國嘅時候咧，就係去到給予 Krishna。
And anyone who came in contact with Srila Prabhupada was transformed.
任何一個咧同聖帕巴接觸過嘅人咧，都會得到轉化。
It's great fortune to come in contact with someone like Srila Prabhupada.
能夠同一位好似聖帕巴嘅人物咧，能夠去到相遇啦、接觸到咧，係非常之大嘅幸運。
There were two boys who were searching for a guru in the 1960s.
咁喺1960年代嘅時候咧，有兩個後生仔咧去到尋找佢哋嘅 guru。
So they decided we will go to America go to India to find a guru.
咁咧佢哋就諗啦，我哋咧就要去印度去揾呢一位嘅 guru。
So Srila Prabhupada, he came to America in 1965 on the Jaladuta ship.
聖帕巴咧係1965年嘅時候咧，坐上呢一個 Jaladuta 嘅船去美國。
Srila Prabhupada came off the ship, and 6 days later the ship turned around and was going back to India.
咁咧佢上咗船之後咧，6日之後咧，嗰艘船咧就要去駛翻去印度。
So these two boys were looking for a guru, so they got onto the Jaladuta to go to India.
咁咧佢哋上咗艘船咧，就係去搭翻艘船咧，翻去印度，但係聖帕巴咧去咗美國。
So they went to India. They arrived. They traveled around for 1 year and they met many gurus, but nobody that they felt was their guru.
咁佢哋喺印度留咗1年嘅時間啦，佢哋遇到好多唔同嘅 guru 啦，但係冇一個咧令到佢哋覺得係心動嘅。
And then they came back to America still without a guru.
翻去美國啦，都係揾唔到佢哋嘅guru。
And then one day they were walking in New York and they saw a man in saffron.
跟住有一日咧喺紐約呢個城市咧，佢哋見到有一位嘅老人家啦，着住咧呢一個橙色嘅袍。
They were thinking, we didn't take any drugs today, but it looks like we're seeing things. Like,
我哋今日咧冇食毒㗎，但係好似見到啲奇怪嘅嘢。
so they came up to this man in saffron, of course, Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada, they looked at Srila Prabhupada and said, are you from India?
於是咧，佢哋行到呢一位着住橙袍嘅人面前咧，佢就話：你係咪印度嚟㗎？
And Prabhupada said, yes, are you from India?
佢話：係啊，咁你係咪印度嚟㗎？
They said, no, but we just came back from India, we're looking for a guru.
但係我哋咧喺印度翻嚟，想去揾一位靈性導師。
Prabhupada said, oh, looking for a guru? Why don't you come to our temple on 26 2nd Avenue?
咁咧聖帕話咗：你哋去揾緊一個 guru 啊，不如你哋過嚟我哋嘅廟裏面啦，喺呢個26大街。
And those two boys, their names were Keith and Howard, and eventually they became known as Kirtanananda and Hayagriva.
咁呢兩位嘅年青人咧，咁咧就係 Keith 同埋Howard。咁咧之後咧就成為咗 Kirtananda 同埋 Hayagriva。
Brahmande Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Beach. That the soul is traveling in this universe for lifetimes, and then if they're very fortunate, then they will come in contact with a Guru.
咁靈魂喺呢一個嘅宇宙裏面咧，生生世世去到遊蕩啦。當佢有呢一個好運嚟到嘅時候咧，佢哋就會遇到佢哋嘅靈性導師。
So Srila Prabhupada, he made an incredible sacrifice to give people the opportunity to begin their spiritual life.
聖帕帕咧做咗一個好大嘅犧牲啦，讓到咧其他人咧能夠獲得呢一個靈性嘅生命。
When we look at Srila Prabhupada's life, then we understand that we have no more excuses why we can't practice spiritual life.
當我哋見到聖帕帕嘅例子嘅時候咧，其實我哋冇藉口啊，唔去到修習。
If someone says, I don't have good health, I'm sorry, Srila Prabhupada had 2 heart attacks when he came.
如果有一個人話我身體唔好啊，但係聖帕帕咧曾經有2次心臟病發。
If someone says, I don't have enough money, I'm sorry, Prabhupada came with 40 rupees.
咁如果有話我冇錢啊，所以唔可以修習，但係聖帕帕咧當時咧只有40個盧比。
If one says, but I don't have good association, I'm sorry, Prabhupada came all alone.
咁如果有話我冇一啲好嘅聯誼，但係聖帕帕咧去到美國嘅時候咧係孤身一人。
If someone says, I'm too old, sorry, Prabhupada was 70.
如果有話我太老啦，但係咧聖帕帕咧當時係70歲。
So no more excuses.
所以唔可以冇任何嘅藉口。
So Srila Prabhupada came all alone. He arrived in New York in 1965. It was the coldest recorded winter in New York history.
咁當聖帕帕咧去到美國嘅時候咧，嗰一年1965年咧係有記錄以嚟咧最凍嘅一個冬天。
Srila Prabhupada said, when I came off the ship, I didn't know whether to turn left or right.
聖帕帕咧回憶講翻咧，當佢去到落船之後咧，佢係唔知道轉左定係轉右。
And eventually, after going to many, many different places, Srila Prabhupada arrived in New York, Lower East Side.
咁當佢去咗輾轉反側唔同嘅地方之後咧，最後咧係喺呢一個嘅下城區嘅東區嗰度咧去到落腳嘅。
I don't know what is the equivalent of the Lower East Side in Hong Kong.
喺香港嘅下城區。
What's the heavy place in Hong Kong?
係好雜亂嘅一個地方嚟嘅。
Someone said choking mansions.
You get the idea. It wasn't a very nice place.
咁大家都知道嗰個地方唔係太過理想。
Srila Prabhupada came from the center of the spiritual world. He was living in Radha Damodar Temple, Vrindavan.
大家想象下，聖帕帕咧係喺呢一個嘅靈性嘅地方嘅中心啊，係Radha Damodar嘅廟嗰度。
Behind this temple is a forest called Seva Kunj, and it's said that even to this day, Krishna is doing his Rasa Leela there every night.
咁喺呢一個廟旁邊咧有一個Seva Kunj，話説咧 Krishna 咧喺而家咧仲係咧喺嗰度上演佢嘅那沙之舞。
Some sadhus can even to this day hear Krishna's flute.
有一啲嘅沙圖聖人咧聽到 Krishna 嘅笛聲。
And Srila Prabhupada came from that place to the Lower East Side of New York, where all night all he heard was police sirens, windows breaking, and people screaming.
咁聖帕帕咧由呢一個咁靈性嘅地方咧去到紐約呢一個嘅下城嘅東區啦，咁咧喺嗰度咧嗰啲窗咧係爛嘅，夜晚咧會聽到啲人喺度尖叫啊。
Srila Prabhupada was living in a place called the Bowery.
聖帕帕當時住嘅地方咧叫做Bowery。
To give you an idea of how difficult this place was, Srila Prabhupada said one day he came into the foyer, the reception of that building, and there was a dead person lying on the ground. A dead person.
咁嗰個地方咧，聖帕帕咧回憶講翻，有一次咧，佢喺一棟大廈裡面嘅接待處咧，係目睹咧嘅身前就係有一個人咧就係死咗嘅，瞓喺地上面。
But a devotee, it doesn't matter where they go, they see Krishna everywhere.
但係對於奉獻者嚟講咧，無論去到任何一個地方咧，佢哋都能夠見到 Krishna。
And so Srila Prabhupada said, I never left Vrindavan because I always carried Krishna in my heart, and therefore I was always with Krishna even when I was in New York.
聖巴巴話咧，我從來都冇離開過 Vrindavan， 因為我去到邊度咧，都將 Krishna 咧放喺我嘅心裏面。
And so slowly, Srila Prabhupada began to attract some interest. He went to a New York park, and underneath a tree in Tompkins Square Park, he began chanting Hare Krishna.
咁慢慢咧，聖巴巴咧引起更加多人嘅注意啦。咁咧佢就去到一個公園啦，Tompkins 呢一個嘅公園咧，喺一棵樹下面咧開始去到唱誦。
If you go to New York, you can go to that park today, and that tree is still there. Nowadays, they call it the Hare Krishna tree.
如果你去紐約呢一個公園嘅話咧，你會見到呢一棵樹啦。而家咧呢一棵樹咧命名為 Hare Krishna 樹。
Jai Shri Gaurikai Ki Jai. And so Srila Prabhupada, in that park, he would chant for many, many hours, sometimes 3 hours or 4 hours. And he didn't have a drum or kartal, he just had a bongo drum. This kind of African drum.
聖巴巴喺公園唱誦嘅時候咧，佢冇登架鼓啦，或者係 kartal 啦，佢就用一個 bongo 嘅一個鼓咧去到伴奏。
If you go to New Vrindavan today, then you can see they have that bongo drum that Srila Prabhupada used. You can see in the video.
喺 New Vrindavan 呢一個廟裏面咧，你可以見到聖巴巴當時用嘅呢一個 bongo 嘅鼓。
So Srila Prabhupada, he met individuals, and his mood was that he was very, very kind. He was very generous, compassionate, magnanimous, and he never saw the problems that people had. But he saw the spiritual potential within everyone.
咁聖巴巴咧對每一個人咧係非常之慷慨、仁慈、好親切、好可愛嘅。咁咧佢所見嘅咧唔係問題，佢見到咧每一個人喺內在嗰種嘅靈性嘅潛質。
This is very, very important. If you treat someone as they are, then they will remain as they are. But if you treat them as they can and should be, they'll become what they can and should be.
所以呢一個就係如果你對一個人係咁樣嘅時候咧，你去用咁樣方式咧去對待佢咧，佢只會停留喺咁樣嘅一個狀態。但係如果你見到佢嘅潛能、佢嘅潛質嘅時候咧，佢就可以成為你去到願景嘅嗰一個嘅狀態。
So Srila Prabhupada didn't see, oh, here is a person taking drugs. Oh, here is a person with so many bad habits. Oh, here is an unclean person. He saw beyond all of that. And he saw that there is a spirit soul within each one of these individuals.
聖巴巴所睇到咧，唔係嗰個人佢好污糟邋遢啊，或者佢去食毒品啊，佢所睇到咧就係每一個人當中嘅嗰一個嘅靈魂。
And so Srila Prabhupada began to attract them, and he began to lecture and teach them about Krishna consciousness.
聖巴巴咧開始去到教導佢哋啦，同佢哋講課啦，關於Krishna。
In his room, Srila Prabhupada had a globe, and sometimes he would spin the globe, and his students would come in and he'd say, and you will go to here, and you will go to this country, and you will go to South America and Africa and the Far East.
咁聖巴巴咧，佢嘅地方嗰度咧有一個嘅地球儀，咁佢啲學生咧就話：你咧會飛去嗰個地方，你又會飛去嗰個地方，你會去到呢一個南美洲，去到非洲唔同嘅地方。
One time Srila Prabhupada was in a New York park, and someone stopped and sat next to him, and he looked at Srila Prabhupada and he said, which planet did you arrive from?
咁有一次聖巴巴咧喺個公園嗰度咧去到喺嗰度唱頌啦，跟住有人行過嚟咧就問佢：咦，你係邊一個星球嚟㗎？
And Prabhupada said, I'm not a poor man. There are temples. There are books. There are thousands of devotees. There is a worldwide movement. Only time is separating us from them.
聖爸爸嘅回答咧就係會有呢一個嘅廟宇啦，有好多嘅書啦，有好多嘅奉獻者啦。呢一啲一切咧，只不過係時間暫時將我哋分開。
And so in a small New York storefront, Srila Prabhupada incorporated the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. There was only about 7 people coming.
咁所以喺一個好小嘅單位裏面啦，聖爸爸咧就成立咗呢一個嘅國際 Krishna 知覺協會啦。咁當時咧嘅會員咧就係7個人。
Srila Prabhupada knew that it's already the prophecy of Lord Chaitanya that the holy name will spread across the lands. So I only have to become an instrument in the plan.
聖爸爸咧去篤信咧主宰坦爺嘅呢一個嘅預言啦，就係咧聖靈咧會去到傳播到世界每一個角落，而佢咧只係一個嘅工具去到幫助去協助去實現呢一個嘅預言。
Krishna said the same thing to Arjuna on the battlefield. Nimitta matram bhavasavya sachin. I have already killed everyone on the battlefield. Now you only have to become an instrument in my hands.
Krishna 咧亦都同阿 Arjuna 咧喺個戰場裏面咧講到，其實咧我已經將在場嘅所有嘅戰士咧已經殺死㗎啦。咁咧只不過咧係運用你成為呢一個工具咧去到做呢一件事情。
At the end of the battle of Kurukshetra, when everything had ended, then they were coming off the chariot, and Arjuna said to Krishna, "First, you please come off."
咁當呢一個嘅 Kurukshetra 嘅戰爭咧結束之後咧，咁首先阿 Arjuna 咧請Krishna 咧先落嚟個馬車。
Krishna looked at Arjuna and he said, "No, no, you come off first."
咁 Krishna 咧就望住阿 Arjuna，你先落，係啦。
Arjuna came off the chariot, and then when Krishna came off the chariot, boom, the whole chariot burst into flames.
咁當Arjuna 先落咗個戰車啦，然之後咧 Krishna 離開個戰車，喺呢一個瞬間咧，嗰個嘅戰車咧係突然間係爆開咗，然之後化為灰燼。
And Arjuna realized Krishna was the one who was holding everything together. I thought I was shooting the arrow.
咁當時咧，Arjuna 咧就覺唔到原來係 Krishna 咧，佢去到咧去維係所有嘅一切，而我自己以為係自己做。
So because Srila Prabhupada had no pride, because Srila Prabhupada had no ego, and because Srila Prabhupada knew Krishna is the master of mystics, he can do anything. Srila Prabhupada became the perfect instrument in Krishna's hands.
因為聖爸爸咧，佢冇呢一個嘅假我啦，冇驕傲嘅心啦，佢知道咧Krishna 咧係所有一切嘅主人，所以咧佢成為咗一個最佳嘅工具去到做呢一件事情。
And so each one of us have the opportunity to also be an instrument. We can experience Krishna working through us in our life.
我哋每一個人咧都有呢一個嘅潛能啦，去成為呢一個嘅工具啦，讓到 Krishna 咧去到使用我哋喺我哋嘅生命。
How many years ago did Lord Chaitanya's pastimes take place?
主宰坦爺嘅逍遙時光係幾多年前發生嘅咧
500? 500 roughly?
500多年前。
Agree? Wrong. Lord Chaitanya's pastimes are going on today.
咁咧主宰坦爺嘅逍遙時光咧係今日咧喺呢個當下都發生緊。
Adyapiha Shay Leela Kahagoroi Kona Kona Bhagyavan Dekhibar Boy. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes are going on even today. But only the very fortunate person can see those pastimes and take part in those pastimes.
主宰坦爺嘅逍遙時光咧係直至到今日咧都係一直咧喺度上演緊嘅。不過只有係嗰啲幸運嘅人，佢哋先能夠去到睇到，去到參與喺呢一啲逍遙時光裏面。
So Srila Prabhupada, he was part of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. And Srila Prabhupada gave all of us the opportunity to also be part of those pastimes. If we have no pride, if we desire to serve, and if we try to follow the orders of our spiritual teachers, then immediately we become instruments in the hands of Krishna.
所以聖帕巴咧，佢就係處於喺主宰太爺嘅逍遙時光裏面，而咧佢都邀請我哋每一個人咧都有呢一個機會去參與喺當中。咁只要我哋有呢一個服務嘅心啦，冇呢一個嘅驕傲啦，我哋都能夠去到做到嘅。
So Srila Prabhupada was empowered, and his mood was one of empowering everyone else.
所以我哋追隨住靈性導師嘅教導啦，聖帕巴咧賦予我哋呢一個嘅能力去到做到。
And therefore, all these great souls, the followers of Srila Prabhupada, they were able to do superhuman things.
所以聖帕巴嘅一啲追隨者咧，佢哋能夠做到一啲非人嘅超人嘅一啲嘅事情。
They were able to come to foreign countries with no money, with no contacts, and start temples.
去到一啲嘅外地嘅地方啦，當時冇身無分文啦，但係咧都能夠有呢一個嘅能力咧，去到建立廟宇。
Because if you come in touch with a great soul, then you become an empowered soul yourself.
如果當我哋同偉大嘅靈魂咧去到接近嘅時候咧，我哋都能夠得到呢一種偉大嘅力量。
So like this, Srila Prabhupada's mood was one of never judging others, complete humility, and trying to empower everyone around him.
所以聖帕巴嘅心水咧就係唔去到評斷啦、批判啦其他人啦，咁咧係反而咧係給予人咧力量咧去到能力去到做服務。
And like this, in 11 short years, Srila Prabhupada spread Krishna consciousness all over the world.
所以佢係完全嘅謙卑啦，喺短短嘅11年間咧，將 Krishna 之國咧係傳遍整個世界。
And now in practically every major inner city in the world, everyone knows Hare Krishna.
而家喺世界上面一啲嘅主要嘅城市咧，所有人都知道 Hare Krishna。
So I was at the airport and one person said, I love you guys, Hare Krishna, Dalai Lama, Dalai Lama. So I kind of got it right, but not exactly.
咁我喺機場嘅時候咧，有一個人見到我，就同我講話我好中意你哋啊！你哋Hare Krishna，Hare Krishna， 跟住達賴喇嘛，達賴喇嘛。
Something on Srila Prabhupada. Was there something more specific you wanted to ask? Okay, yes.
Thank you very much for the very nice, talk. Especially, Prabhu, you mentioned the verse "Nimit Matra Bhavya Savya Sachi." It's also feel very nice, I'm very inspired by the verse. But it always confuses me also. Should one live one's life as a Sabyasachi, the highly competent, ambidextrous Arjun? So should one live one's life as Sabyasachi, or should one live one's life as Nimit Matra, which apart from a tool also means in a colloquial usage, especially in India and Hindi, Nimit Matra means insignificant. So whether one should live as one's life as Mr. Significant or Mr. Insignificant.
OK， 咁炮兵問問題咧就係如果我哋我哋嘅生活咧應該好似阿 Juna 咁樣咧一個即係權高德高望重嘅人啦，定係咧我哋活出好似一個好謙卑、好微不足道嘅一個人咧？
When I was 21, I graduated from university and I was thinking of whether to join the temple as a monk or not.
當我21歲喺大學畢業之後咧，我就開始去到思考，究竟我好唔好去到加入廟堂啦，去成為一個僧人。
So at one point, 20 devotees were surrounding me, telling me, "Do it, do it, do it."
咁當時咧有20位嘅奉獻者咧係包圍住我，咁咧就去啦去啦去啦。
So in my heart, I had some pride. These guys clearly they see I am a special person.
咁當時咧，我內心有一種嘅優越感嘅，佢哋真係覺得我係一個與眾不同嘅人。
So at the end of that meeting, everyone was leaving, and one devotee he said, "Just wait here. I need to speak to you."
咁當所有嘅奉獻者都離開咗之後咧，有一個奉獻者留低，佢就你留低一陣，我有啲嘢想同你講。
And then he sat me down and he said something to me which was so humbling and so inspiring at the same time.
咁佢對我嘅講嘅一番説話咧，係佢非常之謙卑，但係同一時間咧，亦都係非常之能夠啟發到我。
He looked at me and he said, "This movement is going to spread all over the world whether you join it or not."
咁佢就話啦，呢一個嘅運動咧，無論你加唔加入我嘅個廟宇嘅話咧，佢都會咧去到傳遍整個世界嘅。
And then he looked at me and he said, "But do you want to be part of the adventure?"
但係你自己去到決定，你想唔想成為呢一個冒險嘅一份子？
So I said, "Sign me up."
幫我報名。
In this movement, nobody is necessary, but everybody is useful.
咁其實對於呢個運動嚟講咧，冇人係必須嘅，咁咧，但係每一個人咧都有佢嘅作用。
We try to qualify ourselves as much as we can. We learn, we develop our skills, we put in our effort, but then we realize everything ultimately depends on Krishna.
咁當然我哋去到努力去到學習啦，培養各種嘅技能啦，但係去到最後咧，所有一切咧都係取決於 Krishna。
So they say, work as though everything depends on you, and then pray, knowing that everything ultimately depends on Krishna.
咁所以有一個講法就係我哋去到工作啦嘅時候咧，嗰種嘅思維咧就係所有一切咧都係取決於我嘅。但係咧，我哋祈禱嘅時候咧，去到明白咧，所有一切咧最終都係取決於 Krishna。
So we don't say, today I will not go into the kitchen, I'm going to be an instrument in Krishna's hands. If Krishna decides to move me, I will move. Otherwise, I will be a perfect instrument. I won't do anything at all. And ultimately, Krishna will arrange.
咁所以就唔可以話我今日咧唔想入去廚房啊，咁咧等 Krishna 咧去到使用我呢一個嘅工具啦，等佢嚟用我啦，等佢為我安排一切啦。
So we get up, we cook, we learn how to cook, we put our energy, we put our attention, but then we realize Krishna is giving me all the empowerment to do it anyway, but I have to try.
咁所以我哋起身啦，去入廚房啦，跟住去學點樣去到煮飯啦。咁但係咧，當我哋做咗呢啲所有嘅一切嘅時候咧，我哋都知道咧，其實係 Krishna 去到賦予去給予俾我哋嘅，但係我哋都要去到付出自己嘅努力。
So every single person in this room, you can do incredible things because you now have the knowledge which can make you an instrument of Krishna.
大家我哋每一個人喺呢一個嘅廟堂裏面咧，都可以做出咧係超乎常人嘅一啲嘅成就嘅，因為我哋每一個人咧都有呢一種嘅潛質，都可以成為 Krishna 呢一個工具。
Sometimes in our life we lack confidence. I don't think I can do it.
有陣時喺我哋嘅生命裏面咧，我哋會對自己冇信心啦，覺得我做唔到。
But a devotee never thinks they can do it, but they know that Krishna can do anything through me.
咁咧，奉獻者咧唔係諗我做唔做到，而係咧諗到咧係 Krishna 佢有能力去到透過我去到運用我咧去到成就嗰件事。
So, okay. Anyone else want to ask any questions or comments?
有冇其他嘅問題想問嘅？
Can I ask a question? It's not really related.
Yeah, if
to
you
this.
want to break out into general questions, that's also
Yeah, I
fine.
just want
Yes.
to know, when we're listening in class and everything, I heard you this morning, like be attentive and everything, but I'm the type that I get very disturbed by people on the phone or this, so I like to shut my eyes and really observe the listening. Would I have to sort of like let you know beforehand that I'm not sleeping?
Oh,
Because I do like to just keep my eyes shut.
yeah,
And
that's fine.
yeah. And another one concerning.
Do you wanna?
OK，媽之問咧，就有陣時佢好想去專注去聆聽啦，所以咧就會眯埋眼咁樣去到聽咧，就盡量唔受到其他嘢打擾啦。咁所以佢想同埋 Harsh 講，雖然我眯埋咗眼，但係我喺度聽緊，我唔係瞓緊覺嘅咁。
See, when we say that the listener should be like a fish whose eyes are always open and attentive, what it means is that our consciousness, our focus should be fully attentive.
咁所以我哋有時話嗰個聆聽者咧，好似一條魚咁樣，隻眼咧係擘大嘅。咁其實佢嘅意思咧就係我哋嘅意識係啦，我哋嘅意識咧係好專注、好留心嘅。
Sometimes like someone's looking at you with like open eyes, but actually they're looking right through you. Or they might be looking at something behind you. But, you know, like, so it's not just open eyes, it's open heart, open mind, open consciousness.
咁所以咧唔係淨係張開打開我哋嘅眼睛，而係咧打開我哋嘅心，打開我哋嘅思緒啦，而且咧去打開我哋整個嘅意識。
When we come into a class, we understand that actually Krishna is speaking to me.
當我哋去到聽課嘅時候咧，我哋明白咧 Krishna 咧係同我喺度講説話。
Sometimes it's very, very apparent. The speaker will say something and it's like, oh my God, are they reading my mind?
咁有時聽到講者講嘅一啲內容啦，跟住就諗係咪佢識得讀心術㗎？佢係咪知道我諗緊啲乜嘢咧？
And sometimes it's not so apparent, but everything that's being said is what I need to hear at this point in my life. But you have to be tuned in.
咁有陣時聽課嘅時候咧，就會感覺我聽嘅每一句説話咧，就係我呢一刻當下呢一刻正正需要去聽嘅。但係咧，我哋要去到調到嗰個頻率去聽到。
So in the class, actually, you can hear everything you need to. All the information is coming to you. It's very
咁所以
transparent.
聽課嘅時候，所有嘅呢一啲嘅知識咧，都係朝向你嘅。
You know, like sometimes devotees, they play lectures in their car. So there was one devotee who was playing a lecture of Srila Prabhupada in his car. A lecture in the car, on the audio system.
OK， 咁咧有一次咧，有位奉獻者咧就係去到播放聖泡泡嘅講課，咁佢有一個嘅嗰啲記憶卡嘅。
So you know, if you turn the car off while the audio lecture is on, then as soon as you fire the engine, the lecture starts again. So he turned the engine off without turning the radio off.
咁佢就熄咗嗰個機，但係咧佢仲有嗰個即係佢嗰個嘅嗰個頻道咧仲喺度嘅。
So then one person, he was a thief. So he broke into the car.
咁佢就入咗去到嗰架車係咪偷車係啦，入咗車嗰度。
So then he was trying to hotwire the car to fire the engine. Oh, sorry.
我想駁電線，然之後撻着架車。
So immediately at one point the engine fired and then the lecture began and Prabhupada on the lecture said, everyone in the material world is a thief.
咁咧佢撻着咗嗰個engine 之後咧，咁咧就開始嗰個播放聖泡泡咧嗰個嘅講課。咁咧個講課第一句咧就係所有人喺呢個世界都係一個賊嚟嘅。
So this person was looking around like, my God. Then Prabhupada said, everyone is a thief because everyone's stealing from Krishna.
咁呢個偷車賊咧，聽到呢句説話，咁咧聖泡泡意思就係我哋每一個人喺世界上面嘅人咧，都係一個嘅小偷，因為咧我哋係偷 Krishna 嘅嘢。
He became a devotee.
之後成為咗奉獻者。
So yes, we must be very, very attentive because this is a very spiritual assembly. When many sincere people come together to listen, then Krishna is actually speaking through all of us.
咁所以呢個係一個靈性嘅聚會啦，所有咧對靈性有追求嘅好真誠嘅靈魂咧都嚟到呢一度，所以 Krishna 咧喺呢一度咧係同大家去到講話。
Yeah, sorry, just a comment. You wanted to say something else?
No, I'm okay now. If someone
Okay.
else would like.
All right, okay. Anyone else have any general questions you want to ask about philosophy, about Krishna consciousness, or any? Okay, Prabhu, and then yeah.
I have many questions. I just ask one. This morning, Maharaj, you mentioned about everything keeps changing, nothing remains the same. And then now you're talking about Prabhupada's mood, which is basically conquering the world, spreading Krishna consciousness. And then I just want to share one quote from Prabhupada. So Prabhupada said in one of his letters, he said, the potency of spreading Krishna consciousness is equally the same everywhere. And then looking at the result of what we've been doing here, it seems like it's not the same. Like, if we're looking around, I've seen the same faces, same people, same devotees, same energy. So perhaps you're right, we might need to make some changes. So my question would be like, how do we know when to make changes, or how can we make such changes in a way that people find Krishna consciousness appealing, attractive, or relevant to them?
Thank you.
咁啊 ，Prabhu 嘅問題咧就係今日朝頭早嘅時候咧 ，Maharaj 講到即係所有嘅一切都喺度改變啦，冇嘢係靜止嘅。咁我哋睇翻咧，好似聖泡泡嘅年代咧，同埋而家咧都會感覺有唔一樣咯，係咪？嗰陣時可能好輝煌啦。咁我哋點樣可以令到做一啲事情咧，可以令到我哋呢一個嘅運動咧係吸引更加多人啦令到佢哋可以願意去到加入嘅。
The first thing is I would say that you're seeing the same faces is firstly a good thing.
咁咧，我哋見到可能好多年啦，都係同樣嘅面孔啦，其實係一件好事嚟嘅。
Because to come to Krishna consciousness is hard, but to stay in Krishna consciousness is even harder.
去到加入 Krishna 嘅知覺啦、運動啦，其實唔容易嘅，但係願意咧去到留守嘅話咧，係更加唔容易。
So it's pretty incredible that we have devotees who have been coming for 5, 10, 15, 30, 40 years and are still here. That's actually incredible.
咁當我哋見到奉獻者嚟到5年啦、10年啦、20年啦、30年啦，都依然係留喺呢一個運動裏面咧，其實係匪夷所思嘅。
But yes, we have to make Krishna consciousness relevant to the people of the time.
咁但係都係嘅，我哋咧需要去到跟隨住呢個時代啦，令到咧Krishna 知覺咧係對呢一個時代嘅人咧係有連結嘅。
Once Srila Prabhupada was lecturing in a temple room in America, and one person put his hand up and said, "What is the spiritual world like?"
聖泡泡有一次講課嘅時候咧，有人舉起隻手，然之後問咧靈性世界係點樣㗎？
So Prabhupada could have said, Chintamani prakara sadma sukalpa vrikshalak savarteshu surabhira vipalayantam. He could say it's studied with touchstones and there are Lakshmis and there are surabhi cows. He could have said.
咁聖泡泡嘅回答咧，可以話嗰度咧有呢一個嘅御苑樹啦，有呢一個點金石啦，有呢個 Surabhi 嘅牛啦。
But Prabhupada looked at him and he said, the spiritual world is like an ocean of LSD.
但係聖泡泡嘅回答咧就係靈性世界咧就係一個 LSD 丸仔嘅海洋大海。
So he was like, okay, sounds good. Sounds like a place I want to go to.
咁嗰個問問題嘅人咧聽完之後，聽落去幾唔錯喎，幾想去喎。
In other words, when we share Krishna consciousness, we have to deeply think what are the needs, the interests, and the concerns of the people that we're speaking to.
所以當我哋去到分享 Krishna 知覺嘅時候咧，我哋要去到諗下，對方接收嘅人啦，佢嘅需要啦，佢嘅興趣啦，佢關注嘅事物係乜嘢。
And therefore, in every generation, there must be adjustment of the details, but never adjustment of the principle.
所以每一個年代咧都會就住呢一個嘅細節咧有一啲嘅調整，咁但係咧原則咧係唔變嘅。
So, for example, you're in the Far East, so the principle is everywhere in the world we must serve prasadam.
咁譬如我哋喺呢一個嘅東邊啦、東方啦，咁咧嗰個嘅原則咧就係我哋去到派發 prasadam。
And the food must be fresh and vegetarian.
咁我哋去到派發嘅食物咧係素食嘅，而且係新鮮嘅。
That's a principle that never changes.
呢個係一個嘅原則係唔會變嘅。
But the details of what you cook, that you have to be relevant to the time. So what people like to eat here is different from what people like to eat in another place. So we should be relevant.
咁但係我哋煮啲乜嘢嘅話咧，咁我哋就要睇翻嗰個嘅地區性啦，因為呢度人食嘅嘢同另外一個地方人嘅食嘅嘢可能唔一樣嘅口味。
So like that, we have to learn the art. Rupa Goswami says you spoil devotional service by niyam agraha and niyam agraha. Niyam agraha means to neglect the principles, and niyam agraha means to follow the principles so rigidly that you don't be relevant to the time and place. So both things are extremes. Sorry. Niyam agraha, niyam agraha. So one is to fanatically hold on to the principle, and the other one is to neglect the principle.
OK， 咁咧就係我哋如果我哋嘅靈性嘅奉愛服務啦，會受到打擾啦，就係咧當我哋太過去到堅守嗰個嘅原則，咁咧而忽略咗咧將呢一樣嘢咧係能夠同當時嘅世代啦、當時嘅人咧係去到連接。
So Srila Prabhupada, if you look at him, he was able to adjust to the time, place and circumstance.
所以我哋從聖帕巴嘅身上咧，能夠睇到咧，佢係會按住時地人而去做一啲嘅調整嘅。
When he had a Sunday feast, then he called it "Stay High Forever."
當時嘅呢一個嘅星期日嘅愛心大餐咧，嗰個嘅命題咧就係保持一直係咁 high 落去。
Does that help?
Yes.
Sometimes in trying to make adjustment, some devotees who are so extremely high standard, like so unattainable.
Yes.
Sometimes they may also like criticize devotees.
So in our movement, we have some devotees who are very conservative and some who are more liberal. Jai Shri Shiva Dai Ki Jai.
的而且確喺我哋嘅運動裏面咧，有一啲嘅奉獻者咧係會比較保守啲嘅，有一啲咧就會比較開放啲嘅。
Both of them are important.
兩者咧其實都係重要嘅。
Because if we have too many liberals, then we may end up diluting.
如果我哋太過於去到開放嘅時候咧，我哋咧可能咧會令到嗰個嘅精髓個原則咧係好似稀釋咗。
And if we have too many conservatives, then we will preserve, but we will become irrelevant.
如果我哋太過保守嘅話咧，雖然我哋係保留住呢一啲嘅原則，
And so
但係就唔能夠同其他人去到連接咯。
And so there must always be discussion. There must always be respect amongst the devotees. And together we must understand what is the balance. We must be willing to experiment also.
咁我哋之間有呢一個嘅尊重啦，同埋討論啦，同埋咧要有一個空間咧係去到做一啲嘅實驗。
We have learned that we have some free wills, and if we misuse our free will, then we get the result of that. So sometimes if we are misusing our free will and we do something wrong, but the person who is other side, what is the fault of that other person? Is he getting the result of his bad karma? And another question I have that.
So, okay, let's go one at a time. So you understood the question? He's asking, like, say I use my free will.
Yeah.
Say, for example, I use my free will to do something bad to you. But then, what is your situation? Like, am I affecting your free will? Like that, you mean?
No, is the other person is getting the result of his bad karma?
Okay, yeah.
OK， 咁咧帕夫問題就係如果譬如我用我嘅自由意志啦，去到一個人做一啲傷害佢嘅事情啦，咁對方會唔會都會承受佢嘅一啲唔好嘅業報咧？
So Krishna is Yogeshwara. He's the master of all mystics.
Krishna 咧其中一個名字咧就係 Yogeshwara， 就係佢所有嘅完備嘅力量嘅主人。
So Krishna, he arranges that if I have desire to use my free will in a certain way, then he will bring me together with someone who has to experience a certain reaction. So Krishna does two things in one go. He arranges a situation where one person can utilize their free will and the other person receives whatever reaction they're meant to receive.
咁所以Krishna 咧佢嘅做法咧就係一件事情咧係成就兩樣嘢嘅，一個咧就係一個人佢有呢一個嘅自由意願去做呢一個事情啦，咁咧佢就會有另外一個人咧去接受佢去到做呢一件事情嘅嗰個嘅結果。
Therefore, when one becomes very spiritually advanced, then he realizes other people are not the cause of my distress. Other people are only the messengers of my karma.
所以一個人佢變得好進步嘅時候咧，佢就會知道對方咧並唔係佢呢一個痛苦嘅原因，而只不過咧係我嘅 karma 我嘅業報嘅一個使者信差。
That doesn't make it alright, like I can't do something terrible to Mataji and say, well, I'm doing you a favor. I'm just delivering you your karma. After all, you deserve it.
咁樣唔可以話我對媽子做一啲唔好嘅事情，跟住我就同佢講只不過係你嘅 karma， 我嚟到咧去到實現佢你要去到承受嘅呢一個 karma。
I don't have to be the messenger of her karma. If I use my free will in the right way, Krishna will arrange another messenger. So we don't need to implicate ourselves because otherwise we get the karma.
咁所以其實係我哋自己嘅選擇咯。如果當我哋咁樣去到用另外一種方式去運用我哋自由意志嘅時候咧，嚟到我哋生命裡面嘅人咧又會唔一樣啦。
Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that it's very hard to understand. In Bhagavad Gita, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that it's very hard to understand law of karma. So could you please explain in more detail what is that?
Krishna already said it's hard. I don't know if I can make it easy. I'll try.
咁帕寶話嘅問題咧就係Krishna 喺國家梵歌裏面講到咧karma 呢一樣嘢咧係好難去到理解嘅。咁Maharaj 嘅回答就係Krishna 話咗好難，咁我亦都對於我嚟講 Krishna 都覺得難，咁更何況係我咧，我點樣能夠去解釋咧
See, karma is complex because number one, there are many actions we have done. Number two, there are many lifetimes over which we did many actions. And number three, there are many lifetimes in which we did many actions with many different intentions.
咁所以咧karma佢嗰種嘅錯綜複雜咧，就係我哋喺呢一生咧有好多唔同嘅活動啦，唔同嘅行動啦、活動啦。咁咧，而且唔係淨係呢一生喎，仲係好多嘅生世世 ，OK 唔同嘅活動。而且咧做呢啲嘅活動嘅時候咧，每一個活動咧背後咧都會有唔同嘅動機、唔同嘅意識。
So therefore, karma is not so simple. You do A and you get B.
所以 karma 咧唔係我哋諗咁簡單嘅，譬如我哋做 A， 跟住就會得到 B。Because
this person may do A, but they do it with a certain different intention, and there are many other activities that influences B. You understand?
可能呢一個人咧做咗 A 呢一個嘅行動啦，但係咧佢周圍咧其實有好多其他嘅元素咧，最後咧係導致 B 呢一個結果。
That's why you're going through certain reactions now. It's very difficult to say this is why this is happening to you.
所以我哋而家去到接受呢一啲嘅業報嘅反應嘅時候咧，我哋好難去到講話，因為係咁樣，所以我而家就承受呢一個嘅業報。
Does that make sense? Okay. Try. Yes.
You spoke about, you mentioned at the beginning that faith comes from a pure person, or we develop faith through that pure person. Can you please elaborate more about faith and how can we increase our faith?
咁Maharaj咧去請 Maharaj 咧上去解釋多少少咧，就係當我哋遇到一位純粹嘅人嘅時候咧，我哋能夠有呢一個嘅信心，可唔可以解釋多少少呢一個信心嘅部分？
So this discussion takes place in a book called Madhurya Kadambini.
呢一個嘅討論咧係一本書叫做 Madhurya Kadambini。
It's written by someone called Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur.
咁咧係由Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur 所寫嘅。
So he asks the question, why are we all practicing bhakti now?
佢問咗一個問題咧，就係點解我哋而家一齊去到修習奉愛瑜伽咧？
And then he says, simple, because we were doing it in a previous life.
咁
So
一
we're just carrying
個
on.
回答咧就係因為我哋前世咧已經有做開㗎啦，咁所以咧而家只不過係延續。
But why were you practicing it in that life?
咁點解你喺前世會做奉愛服務咧？
Simple, because you were doing it in the life before.
咁因為你再一個前世已經有做㗎啦。
Then he says, but there must be a life where you begun.
咁佢問題就係你一定係有一個開始嘅，係邊一生開始咧？
He says, yes, so how did you begin?
咁係啊，咁係點樣開始嘅咧？
He says, maybe you did some pious activity.
咁佢就可能你做咗一啲虔誠嘅活動。
And he says, no, that can't be the cause of bhakti because something material can't create something spiritual.
咁但係個回答就話、唔可能係咁樣嘅，因為一啲物質嘅東西唔能夠咧去到創造靈性。
Then he says, maybe you got Krishna's mercy.
另一個猜測就可能你得到 Krishna 嘅仁慈。
But he says, no, that can't be true because Krishna would give his mercy to everyone.
但係佢又話唔係喎 ，Krishna 將佢嘅仁慈咧係給予所有人。
So then he says, I know you started bhakti because you got the mercy of a devotee.
我知道啦，點解你去到開始奉愛咧，係因為你得到一位奉獻者嘅仁慈。
But then he says, it goes even deeper than that. Actually, bhakti is created by bhakti.
跟住再去到更加深入咧，就係奉愛係源自於奉愛。
Because it's the bhakti in the heart of a devotee that inspires that devotee to give bhakti to you and awaken your bhakti. So there's only one cause of bhakti, and that's bhakti itself.
咁 bhakti 咧只有一個嘅來源，就係 bhakti，就係嗰一位有佢內在嘅奉愛內在有呢個奉愛嘅人，去到將佢內在嘅奉愛去到分享出去俾另外一個人。
So a devotee awakens the faith within us to begin this process of bhakti.
奉獻者咧其實係喚醒我哋內心呢一個嘅信心，然之後開始呢一個奉愛嘅之途。
And there are basically three things which increase your faith.
有三樣嘢咧係令到我哋嘅信心能夠增加嘅。
Three P's.
三樣嘢：
Philosophy,
哲學、
people,
人、
and practice.
修習。
If you increase your understanding of philosophy, then your faith will increase. If you read the Shastra, then your doubts will disappear.
所以如果我哋咧去到研習啦、經典啦、去到認識呢一個嘅哲學啦，呢個咧會增加我哋嘅信心，令到我哋嘅疑惑咧驅除。
People means if you associate with very, very sincere and pure people, just by being around them, your doubts disappear and your faith increases.
咁第二個咧就係同呢一啲嘅人去到接近佢哋啦、親近佢哋啦，就係同佢哋一齊啦。單係咁樣咧，已經能夠去增加你嘅信心，去消除你嘅疑惑。
And when you practice, you chant, you serve, you try to follow Krishna's instructions. When you practice it, then you experience Krishna in your life, and that also removes your doubts and increases your faith.
當我哋去到服務啦、去到唱頌啦、去到修習嘅時候咧，我哋喺我哋嘅生活裏面咧，去到經歷Krishna，呢個都會增加我哋嘅信心。
So in your life, if you are intelligent, spiritually intelligent, then you will read philosophy, you will stay close to spiritual people, and you will try to seriously practice. Then your faith increases.
所以如果我哋有呢一個靈性嘅智慧嘅時候咧，我哋就會去到認識哲學啦，去到同呢一啲嘅有靈性嘅人去到聯誼啦，同埋咧去到收集，咁自然而然咧，我哋嘅信心就會增加。
Is that okay? Right. Yes?
Hi Krishna Maharaji. Maharaji, my question is about Bhagavad Gita. Every time I read Bhagavad Gita till chapter 12, my interest is increasing with each chapter. But from 13 to 17, it's like you sleep after the interval of the movie and wake up again to see the end. Then chapter 18 is like the most interesting. So from 13 to 17, is it that I am missing out on something? What is the importance of these chapters after touching Bhakti Yoga, which is like the peak of the knowledge?
Okay. 馬哈子嘅問題咧就係佢會閱讀國家梵歌啦，咁咧一路讀到第12章嘅時候咧都係非常之興奮嘅，咁一去到13到第17章咧就想瞓覺，咁第18章咧又醒翻啦，咁所以佢問究竟我係咪漏咗啲咩咧？第13至到第17章。
So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he explains the Bhagavad Gita is like a jewel box.
Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur 咧去解釋咧呢一個國家梵歌咧就好似一個珠寶盒。
The first 6 chapters are like the base of the jewel box Karma Yoga.
國家梵歌嘅開始嘅6章咧就係呢一個珠寶箱嘅一個嘅即係基礎啦，咁咧去解釋 Karma Yoga 行動瑜伽、活動瑜伽。
Then the next part of the jewel box is the jewel that's on the base. That is the middle 6 chapters, Bhakti Yoga, 7 to 12.
7至到12章咧就係裡面嗰啲嘅上面嘅呢一個嘅珠寶啦，咁就係奉愛瑜伽嘅部分。
And the final 6 chapters, 13 to 17 or 13 to 18, are Jnana Yoga, the yoga of knowledge. That is like the lid.
咁最後嘅6章啦，13到17或者18啦，咁咧就係呢個珠寶盒嘅蓋嚟嘅，咁就係解釋知識瑜伽。
So these chapters are more technical. Generally, most of us, we find it difficult to listen to philosophy.
呢幾章咧會比較難啲去到理解嘅，因為我哋有時可能未必能夠讀懂嗰個哲學。
Generally, when we speak, every 3 minutes we have to say some kind of story or joke. Otherwise, everyone goes into samadhi.
咁所以我哋講課咧，每3分鐘咧就要講下笑咁樣啦。如果唔係咧，我哋個個都會瞓着晒啦，samadhi。
So, but this knowledge is very, very important because it teaches us about detachment.
但係呢啲章節係好重要嘅，去到教導我哋關於棄絕。
Siddhanta boliya chite nakara alash iha hoite Krishna lage sutrita manash. A Bengali verse tells us when it comes to understanding Siddhanta or philosophy, nakara alash, don't be lazy.
咁有個孟加拉嘅講法咧，就係當我哋去到研習認識呢一啲嘅哲學嘅時候咧，係唔可以偷懶嘅。
Iha hoite, because by doing this, Krishna lage sudrida manash, the mind becomes very, very strong.
透過去到讀呢啲嘅哲學咧，其實嗰個心念咧會變得非常之有力。
We have so many emotions inside of us. Every day, so many emotions are coming, isn't it?
我哋每一日咧都會有好多嘅情緒咧會湧現嘅。
Once there was a car and it had a sign, "Do not disturb, already disturbed."
咁有架車咧有個牌咧話不要打擾，已受打擾。
So we're so disturbed. Even we are sitting here in our mind, so many fears, problems, worries.
就算我哋坐喺呢一度呢一刻都有好多嘅恐懼啦，好多嘅擔心啦。
We are very emotional people.
其實我哋係好情緒化嘅人嚟嘅。
If you come to the temple and just one person looks at you a little funny, then immediately in your mind it's there now. You can't. What is it? What is it?
咁如果有你嚟到廟堂咧，有個人用啲好奇異嘅眼光去望住你咯，即刻咧你就會開始諗，哇，究竟係發生咩事咧
Mind your mind.
咁所以小心我哋嘅心意。
See, I tell people mind. So M stands for magnify. Mind makes everything big.
咁咧mind 呢個字咧第一個 M 字咧就係代表咧佢中意放大啲嘢嘅。
I stands for invent. The mind is always coming up with stories.
咁呢個M mind 裡面第二個字母 I 咧就係佢中意咧去到去創作係啦，創作好多嘅故事。
N means negative. Mind is always negative. Oh no, it won't work. It's not going to happen. I did really bad.
另外N 字咧就係負面啦。我做得唔好啊！哎呀，我做唔到喎。
D means distraction.
D 咧就係容易令我哋分心，唔專注，心散。
So the mind is always distracted, always in some other place.
所以心念咧會令到我哋個心散，專注唔到。
So when you understand philosophy, when your intellect is strong, then your mind and your emotions can be controlled. Otherwise, your mind and emotions will take you in so many places.
所以哲學咧令到我哋嗰個智性咧能夠更加嘅穩固。如果唔係咧，我哋就會被我哋嘅情緒啦、我哋嘅心念咧所去到牽引帶走咗。
So you have to be a little patient to sit, to read, to sit, to listen. It requires some patience.
需要有一啲嘅耐性啦，去到坐定定，去到聆聽。
Is that okay? Yes.
刚刚姑妈讲到那个业报嘛，就是也许我们的业报的话就是堆成了喜马拉雅山那么高啊，但很多人都是不是在就是启迪火气的时候，他们就会拿走很多业报，然后之后的话启迪之后，它这个业报是不是我们在这个物质世界生活是不可能做到没有业报的？就是我们怎么样才能去减少这样的卷入到新的一种业报当中
So my question is, our karma like piling up like the Himalayas. So it's said that when one receives initiation from the spiritual master takes away some karma of the disciple. So how to understand this, and also, is it really possible to lead a karma-free life in this material world, and or not to accumulate more karma in this life? So how to do it?
So yes, it's said that when one takes initiation, then the guru is giving the disciple a new life.
咁喺靈性導師去到給予啟迪嘅時候咧，係給予門徒咧一個新嘅生命。
So therefore, the guru is taking on some of the karma of the disciple to open up their journey, so there are no blocks.
所以咧，靈性導師咧去到攞走門徒嘅部分嘅呢一啲嘅karma 啦、業報啦，其實咧係令到佢咧可以開始佢呢一個靈性嘅旅程，唔好咁多嘅障礙。
However, if the disciple doesn't follow the vows that they made in that agreement, then it's not that the guru will just unlimitedly keep taking karma. The disciple must follow.
咁所以咧，如果門徒冇去到遵守佢啟迪嘅時候嗰個嘅諾言嘅時候咧，咁靈性導師咧唔會不斷無了期咁樣咧去攞走，即係將佢嘅業報咧係攞走嘅。
So yes, even when we are sincere, still it feels that we are living in a world where we'll be implicated in karma.
咁雖然我哋好真誠啦，但係我哋都會覺得自己生存喺呢一個世界裏面咧，都係會受到 karma 去到影響。
Therefore, Krishna explains that in this world, every endeavor is covered by some fault.
所以 Krishna 話喺呢一個嘅世界上面咧，我哋每一個嘅努力咧，都會有一啲嘅出錯嘅地方嘅。
Just like we buy this, but maybe some exploitation went into making this.
就好似咧，我哋買呢一個嘅一個碗啦，鐵碗啦，咁但係可能喺呢一個製作嘅過程裏面咧，會有一啲嘅剝削。
So the only way to be free of karma is to try to connect everything we do to Krishna.
咁所以點樣可以去到唔受業報去影響咧？就我哋做每一件嘅事情咧，都同 Krishna 咧去到連接上。
Yagyarthat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhana tadartham karma konteya mukta sangha samachara. Krishna says that if you do everything in yajna as a sacrifice for Vishnu or for the pleasure of Vishnu, then you don't get engaged in karma bandhana, the entanglement of karma.
咁 Krishna 喺梵歌裏面講到，如果我哋做每一個嘅活動嘅時候咧，都將佢視為一個對住 Vishnu 嘅祭祀獻上嘅時候咧，我哋就唔會受到呢一個業報嘅捆綁。
Is that okay? Yes.
During the topic of karma, we're taught to see whatever comes, either auspicious or inauspicious, as Krishna's mercy, and to learn from the experience. So sometimes, especially when we begin our spiritual life, like some crazy situations can happen, and you're like, oh, what's going on? And then the first time it happens, you may be like, so you cannot see through the situation. You just don't know. So what am I trying to learn here? What are you trying to teach me, Krishna? And then Krishna brings it again on you, and then now you're seeing actually with the help of devotees something like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to learn here. Or so is this karma or is this intervention of Krishna? Krishna plays an intervention. It's not necessarily all just karma. Or so what is that? What's going on?
OK，媽知問題就係如果我哋遇到一啲好困難嘅事情發生啦，咁可能我哋第一次嘅時候咧，唔知道究竟 Krishna 想我哋去學啲乜嘢啊？點解會發生呢啲事？未必能夠睇穿嗰個事情背後嗰個實相。咁但係再一次同樣嘅事情又發生嘅時候咧，我哋可能有多啲嘅領悟啦、覺悟啦，從奉獻者嘅身上咯。咁究竟呢一種嘅即係呢一種嘅學習啊，或者覺悟咧，係 karma 定係 Krishna 嘅介入咧？
In one sense, everything is Krishna.
咁從一個層面嚟講咧，所有一切都係 Krishna。
Even if you say it's my karma, Maya Dhyakshaina Prakriti, Krishna is overseeing the law of karma.
就算我哋話呢個係我嘅 karma， 咁但係咧，其實 Krishna 咧係主宰所有嘅呢一啲嘅 karma。
So it's explained that the moment that you try to love Krishna, then Krishna begins to be involved in how your karma plays out in your life.
咁所以當我哋去到愛 Krishna 嘅嗰一刻咧，Krishna 咧就會去到安排啦，去到介入啦，我哋呢一個嘅 karma 喺我哋嘅人生裏面點樣去到展現出嚟。
So you have this amount of karma that you have to experience, but now Krishna will take this karma and give it to you, but give it to you in a very, very specific way that will help you on your journey.
咁所以之前咧，你有呢一個嘅karma 啦，係咁樣咯。咁但係當我哋同 Krishna 去到連接上嘅時候咧，Krishna 咧會用好指定嘅一個嘅方式，去到咧將呢個 karma 喺你嘅身上咧去到幫助你去繼續你嘅呢一個旅程。
It's like, say, for example, there are three people. Someone who does bad karma, someone who does good karma, and someone who's a devotee.
譬如假設有3個人啦，一個人咧做一啲唔好嘅活動啦，一啲係做一啲虔誠好嘅活動咧，第3個咧係一位奉獻者。
So say, for example, they all desire to live in an apartment in Hong Kong.
假設佢哋咧一齊住喺香港嘅一個單位。
So at the end of life, that's their desire.
呢個係佢哋嘅願望嚟嘅。
Then the person with bad karma, he may end up as like a bug in a Hong Kong apartment.
咁頭先嗰個係一個好嘅 karma 嘅人啦。如果一個唔好嘅 karma 人咧，佢可能咧就係成為香港裏面一個嘅蚊蟲。
If one is having good karma, then he may have a good apartment in Hong Kong.
如果個人嘅 karma 係好嘅話咧，佢可能喺香港裏面有一個單位住喺裏面啦。
And if one is trying to be a devotee, then he might end up as a pujari in this apartment in Hong Kong.
如果一個人係奉獻者嘅話咧，佢最後咧可能咧係喺呢一個房間裏面咧成為祭司。
So Krishna is dispensing the karma, but he's tailoring it according to what will be good for that person.
咁所以Krishna 係安排呢啲唔同嘅karma啦，但係佢根據嗰個人佢所做嘅事情啦，佢嘅願望咧而去安排嘅。
Does that answer?
In the Gita, it's said, Krishna says, of all the senses, the mouth is the most ferocious sense. Can you elaborate a little bit more on this and how do we control the sense of eating and speaking so that it helps us in our bhakti?
某一次問題就係我哋點樣可以喺修習嘅時候咧，去控制我哋嘅嘴巴，控制我哋嘅舌頭，點樣去到節制我哋嘅飲食啦，同埋我哋嘅説話。
Yes, when you go home today, you can go in front of the mirror, open your mouth, and just look at your tongue. And you will see it doesn't stay still.
咁咧，我哋今日翻去咧就對住塊鏡，係啦，望下自己個嘴裏面條脷，就係喐嚟喐去嘅，定唔到嘅。
The tongue is a very, very agitated sense. Lobhamoy sudurmati. Mati means intelligence. Durmati means bad intelligence. Sudurmati means lost it. Lost cause.
咁所以呢個舌頭咧，我哋就話即係好煩躁不安嘅，係啊，咁所以佢唔單止係冇智慧啊，而且係唔係低智慧啊，即係低智力啊、小智啊，而且係冇任何嘅智力。
So Reverting Swami is explaining that all the senses are in a line.
Reverting Swami 咧去解釋咧，其實咧我哋嘅感官咧係連埋一齊嘅。
So there's the tongue, there's the belly, and then other senses.
我哋呢一個嘅舌頭啦，我哋嘅腹部啦，跟住之後其他嘅感官。
So those who have actually learned to control their eating and their speaking, if they can control those two things, actually controlling every other sense becomes much easier.
如果一個人可以去到控制佢嘅飲食啦，同埋控制佢嘅説話咧，其實佢就自然咧就能夠控制所有其他嘅感官。
But now people eat anything, and they also say anything, isn't it? Just on social media, for example, people just say anything without thinking.
而家嘅人就飢不擇食啦，即係咩都食啦。咁咧，而且講説話咧，亦都係冇去到經過思考嘅，諗到咩就講咩。
In the world, they call this toxic disinhibition. You know what this means? It's like because if you were in front of someone, you would never say something. But because now you're communicating over a device and you're not face to face with them, then no inhibition. Then you will say so many things. But if you had to say it to their face, you would never say that.
係，而家有一種我哋話有毒嘅一種嘅溝通嘅方式啦，就係如果嗰人咧喺你面前嘅話咧，你唔會對佢講呢一啲説話嘅。不過咧，而家中間咧有一個嘅媒介啊，咁所以咧你就變得咧你就喺佢背後啊，即係用呢啲嘅方式渠道咧，就去到講嗰人嘅説話。
Someone sent me a message. Get off Facebook and get your face into a book.
有個人發咗個信息俾我，佢話咧離開 Facebook，將你塊面書擺喺本書度。
So yes, our eating and the way we speak to others, this has to be we have to be very careful.
係，所以我哋嘅 飲食啦、言語啦都要好小心。
So eating is controlled. Krishna says, Yagya shishta shinashanto muchante sarva kilbishe bhunjante de dvagam papam ye pachantyatma karanat. That everything you eat should be first offered in sacrifice.
我哋所有嘅食嘅嘢咧，都要首先咧去到獻祭。
And then Krishna explains how to control the speaking. Anudvega kadam vakyam satyam priyam hitam chayat swadhyaya prasanam jeva vanmayam tapa uchate. Krishna says words should be truthful, pleasing, and beneficial.
Krishna 咧喺講到呢一個即係説話嘅苦行咧，就係要係要係真實嘅。要係悅耳嘅，而且咧係
Socrates said,
有用嘅、有益嘅，有益。
Fools speak because they have to say something. Wise people speak because they have something to say.
咁有句説話就係愚蠢嘅人咧，佢哋講嘢咧，因為佢哋想去講嘢；但係咧有智慧嘅人講嘢嘅時候咧，因為咧佢哋需要去到講一啲嘢。
So Prabhupada said we shouldn't be like the croaking of frogs.
佢哋有啲重要嘅嘢要去到講咯，咁所以我哋唔好好似啲青蛙喺度
croaking, but they don't realize that the snake is coming behind them and eats them up.
係，所以我哋要小心，唔好好似啲青蛙喺度叫啦，咁咧，但係其實後面咧就有條蛇咧將佢哋擔走。
So our speech shouldn't be complaining. Our speech shouldn't be criticizing. Our speech shouldn't be without any meaning. All of these we have to avoid.
所以我哋講嘅説話咧，唔好去到好多嘅埋怨啦、投訴啦，或者咧去到批評啦，或者所講嘅嘢咧係冇意義嘅。
Does this help?
And no, actually yes, it does. Because the second question was that when they say control what you eat, does it only refer to eating vegetarian? But like you just earlier said, that everything that you eat needs to be offered. Sometimes when you're outside or you're at work, it's difficult to just do both. So how do you take that in? How do you offer and take that in?
咁有陣時候我哋食嘅嘢啦，可能喺工作喺出面嘅食物啦，咁點樣去到供奉咧，或者唔係自己烹調嘅
？Yeah, so Krishna is a person, Krishna is kind, he understands that you have limitations. So just offer in your mind, but eat something which is made of proper ingredients, at least, minimum.
Krishna 係一個人嚟嘅，佢明白佢明了嘅，咁佢亦都知道我哋有時會有一啲嘅限制啦。咁我哋可以喺心念上面去到供奉啦，但係食嘅嘢咧都係一啲即係比較健康係好啲嘅材料嘅食材嘅嘢咯。
Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I want to ask that in this material world, people does bad karma. So I want to ask, what is the way to revert your bad karmas? Is this true that this is just to get into spiritual life and do service to Krishna?
You mean we do bad karma?
Yes. So if somebody is doing bad karma, what is the best way to revert those? Is it just to get into spiritual life and do service to Krishna, or you should also do some efforts to get forgiveness from those people whom you have hurt or whom you have done those bad karmas to?
我知嘅問題就係我哋嗰時會做咗即係一啲唔好嘅karma啦。咁我哋點樣去到？有冇方法可以去到化解或者去到逆轉咧？係咪就係去到靈修啊？定係咧可能對我哋曾經傷害過嘅人咧去到尋求原諒？
So definitely if we've done some bad karma, we've offended someone, or then we should try to correct it.
咁如果我哋做咗一啲唔好嘅 karma 啦活動啦，可能去到冒犯咗某人啦，咁我哋可以咧係去到祈求嗰個人嘅原諒，我哋去糾正佢。
But this won't be enough.
但係淨係咁樣咧並唔足夠。
In the Bhagavatam is mentioned, Kvachin nivartate bhadrad, kvachit chariti tat puna, prayaschitam mato partham, manye kunjara sochavat. Understand? Kunjara sochavat means the bathing of an elephant.
咁喺《博家雅談》裏面咧，有一個去到描述呢一個嘅即係呢啲唔好嘅業報啦嘅比喻咧，就好似一個咧沖咗涼嘅大笨象。
So an elephant goes into the water and then it cleanses itself, and then what does it do? It comes on the bank again, and then it takes the sand and it again.
咁所以大笨象喺嗰個水裏面去沖完涼之後咧，翻上去岸嘅時候咧，又整到成身都係泥沙咁樣，咁又要再去沖涼。
Therefore, the only real way to overcome your bad karma is to become Krishna conscious.
所以真正去到克服呢一啲唔好嘅 karma 嘅方法咧，就係去變得有 Krishna 之覺。
Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam saranam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami masucha. Krishna says, if you surrender, then I remove all the bad reactions. So that's the ultimate way.
所以最終極嘅方法咧，就係 Krishna 所講啦。當你去到歸依我嘅時候咧，我會將你所有嘅呢一啲嘅惡報咧，都會攞走。
All right. Maybe last question.
In the same line of karma. So it has been mentioned that you just mentioned that once we surrender to Krishna, that karma is taken away. Once you surrender to the spiritual master, he takes your karma. But you also mentioned that Krishna delivers the karma in such a way that it helps us with our spiritual life.
So which one is it?
So what are we living right now? Is it karma or was that taken already?
Does Krishna take away your reactions, or does Krishna give you the reaction in a specific way?
咁媽子嘅問題就係去到概括一下就係、究竟係咪 Krishna 咧去到攞走你嘅 karma， 定係 Krishna 咧去俾一啲嘅karma， 即係一啲嘅業報嘅反應俾你咧？
So when Krishna says Aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha, I relieve you from sinful reactions, it can mean one of three things.
當 Krishna 咧講咧，我會攞走你呢一啲嘅即係業報嘅反應啦。其實有3個意思嘅。
Option A, Krishna gives you the reaction, but he gives you in a very specific way that will help you.
咁第一個方式咧就係 Krishna 會去到俾呢一啲嘅反應你啦，業報反應啦，但係好特定嘅方式去到幫助你嘅。
Option B, Krishna gives you, but he gives you in a reduced way, token reaction.
咁另外一個方式咧就係佢會俾呢一個業報反應你咧，但係咧係減輕咗嘅。
And option 3, Krishna gives you, but what he also gives you is the inner strength of mind not to be affected by it.
咁另外一種方式咧 ，Krishna 咧俾你嘅咧就係照樣去要去承受呢一啲嘅業報嘅反應啦，但係咧佢俾到你呢一個內在嘅力量啦、智力啦，去到克服佢。
Otherwise, someone may say, like, why is it pure devotees still? It seems they have to go through. But they may go through, but they're not experiencing the pain of it because Krishna has given them transcendental consciousness.
咁所以有啲我哋見到啲純粹奉獻者，可能佢經歷一啲嘅痛苦啦，但可能咧佢未必係去到感受到呢一種嘅苦嘅，因為咧佢裡面咧你有呢一個超然嘅意識係 Krishna 俾佢去到超越嘅。
It's okay. Hare Krishna.
这样的，我是对这个博家梵高啊，個15章但係15個詩字入邊有個疑惑。有2個疑惑嘅，實質上，第一個疑惑咧，啱先佢回答佢嘅問題嘅時候已經解答我其中一個，就係嗰隻15章15詩字入邊係講係話，每一個人個知識 記憶和遺忘嚇，知識、記憶同埋遺忘都係因為 Krishna。然之後 Krishna 係創造這個宇宙的一切的維繫者都是 Krishna。然後他是偉大經嘅編撰者，所以其實喺呢個章節入邊，我係對前面一個記憶同埋遺忘，我係非常清晰嘅，因為我以前係一個30幾年嘅抑鬱症嘅病人。我喺20幾年將近30年嘅過程中，我係受到呢個抑鬱症嘅影響，係冇記憶同埋一個思維嘅能力嘅。所以當我係2019年我接觸到 Krishna 知覺之後，喺短短1年個時間裏邊，我哋發生巨大嘅改變。所以我係非常肯定呢個改變係來自於 Krishna 俾我嘅幫助。但係我依家有個疑問就係一個知識嗰方面。記憶同遺忘啦，我之前已講咗，你確定啦。但係知識呢一方面，他先佢嗰度回答先慢慢就自個問題嘅時候，話係因為我哋嘅願望，因為我哋嘅願望想得到呢個知識，所以必須要俾我哋呢個知識。但係咁來到第二個問題就係話，咁我哋可能會想做某啲工作或者係某啲生活上嗰啲安排。舉一個例子就好似話Krishna Swami 咁樣，佢想去傳播，想傳遍全世界去傳播 Krishna 主角。佢做建咗佢嗰呢個旅行車隊，但係最終 Prabhupada 俾咗佢一個分數，就係來到中國傳播呢個 Krishna 主角。咁佢整個 Prabhupada 嘅教導當中，對佢嘅門徒都有好多呢方面嘅安排。本身係佢對佢嘅意願係違背咗嘅，但係最後尾都證明。Prabhupada 嘅安排係正確嘅，係啱嘅，係好嘅。但係我哋點樣去判別？點樣去判別？點樣去判別呢啲？係你講個問題。係我哋點樣去判斷我哋嘅想做嘅嘢、想要嘅嘢係我哋嘅心意，抑或係 Krishna 俾我哋嘅安排
？Time for lunch.
I'll just sum up the
Sure.
Okay. So Amaji's first question, she gave some examples. The ultimate question is like how can we understand when something happened to our life? Because Maharaji mentioned that when we have that desire, then Krishna gives us the knowledge to inspire us. So how can we differentiate that things happen is out of a desire, or sometimes things happen against our desire? So how is it like Krishna's desire, intervene? Maharaji gave one example is like Tamal Krishna Goswami's example. He doesn't have the desire to go to China to preach, but Prabhupada has that desire, and then it turned out to be a wonderful arrangement. So it's kind of against his desire, but it turned out to be so wonderful. So how to understand this, whether
yes, okay.
against or follow?
How do I understand what is Krishna's desire?
Yeah.
And like this. Okay.
Yeah.
So a devotee has desires.
咁奉獻者係會有願望嘅，我哋會有願望。
But the devotee's desire is a desire to serve.
奉獻者嘅願望咧就係去渴望去到服務。
And so what the devotee does is the devotee comes in front of Krishna, comes in front of the spiritual master, and says, I would like to serve in this way.
咁奉獻者咧嚟到聖巴巴啦靈性導師啦Krishna 嘅面前咧就我想用咁樣嘅方式去到服務。
Krishna or the spiritual master may say, yes, very good. Or they may say, no. Or they may say, it's okay, but let's change it a little bit.
咁去到靈性導師嘅面前嘅時候咧，靈性導師話好啊，依照你想要嘅方式。又或者佢話咁樣唔好，又或者佢話可以，不過可能做一啲嘅調整。
So whenever and however Krishna responds, or the spiritual master, a devotee is open.
咁所以咧，無論靈性導師咧，或者 Krishna 點樣去到回應嗰個奉獻者嘅呢一個嘅願望啦，咁咧嗰位奉獻者咧係保持一個開放嘅心。
if we try to follow our desires, we will get into more trouble.
如果我哋咧一路去到即係掹住自己嗰種嘅願望咧，唔去放嘅時候咧，我哋就會有麻煩。
Once there was a husband and wife, it was their 50th wedding anniversary. They were both 70.
咁有一對嘅夫婦咧，就係慶祝佢哋50週年嘅結婚紀念。
So the man, the genie came and he said, "Anything, gift for you, 50th wedding anniversary."
咁嗰個阿拉丁神燈阿拉丁咧，佢就你哋慶祝50週年嘅即係呢個紀念啦、結婚啦，咁你哋想要啲咩我都會俾你嘅。
He said, "I'm 70. I wish my wife was 20 years younger."
咁嗰個男士就話啦：我今年咧70歲，我希望咧我嘅妻子咧後生20年。
So the genie said, "Okay." Boom, he became 90.
咁嗰個阿拉丁就話：可以啊，咁你 boom 佢咧就變咗90歲。
He said, "No, there must be some mistake here." He said, "You wanted your wife to be 20 years younger?"
嗰個唔係喎，點解會發生咁嘅事㗎？但係神燈話唔係啊，你話想你個妻子後生你20年啊嘛。
So therefore, our desires can get us into more trouble.
所以有陣時我哋嘅願望咧，會帶俾我哋仲多嘅麻煩。
So the best thing to do is go take your desire in front of the spiritual master or Krishna and say, "Okay, what do you think?"
咁所以咧可以帶住我哋嘅呢一個嘅願望啦、慾望啦，去到 Krishna 靈性導師嘅面前，然之後問你覺得點樣咧
Therefore Krishna says, "Majjita sarva durgani matprasada tarishashi atachetvam ahankaran nashroshasi vinamshasi." If you become conscious of me and hear me, you will pass over all the obstacles. But if you act not hearing me, you'll be lost.
所以 Krishna 梵歌裏面講到，如果你去到有意識到我嘅，去到聆聽我嘅話，你可以跨越所有呢一啲嘅障礙困難。但係如果你唔去到聽我講嘅話咧，你就會迷失。
Is this helping?
你覺得有冇用啊？呢個
有用㗎。Thank you。但係我有個疑惑就係佢話嗰個開放嘅心係點樣
？Open. How to be? What does it mean? What does it mean by being open?
To be open means that when Krishna shows us that he wants something different in our life, we don't resist.
咁呢一個開放嘅意思就係當 Krishna 想喺我哋嘅生命裏面有一個唔同嘅方式咯，咁咧我哋保持呢個開放嘅心去接受咯。
Once we put in our effort, we put in our endeavor, but still Krishna keeps moving it in a different way, then at one point we have to say, this is what Krishna wants. I have to let go.
所以有陣時可能一路好堅持啦，自己嘅做法啦，咁去到一點嘅時候咧發覺即係唔可以再咁樣落去啦，咁嗰一刻咧只能夠真係要去放下咯。Krishna 想用另外一種方式。
This is very mystical. The most advanced devotees, they're very connected with Krishna because they're detached.
所以對於嗰啲非常之進步嘅奉獻者咧，呢一啲嘅係好神秘嘅呢啲嘢，咁咧但係佢哋就能夠去到知道佢哋同 Krishna 有呢一個連接，所以佢哋能夠感知到 Krishna 嘅心意
意思即係話佢係隨時會改變嘅，隨時係有可能同我哋嘅願望係違背嘅。
Yeah, so it happens that our will may not be the Krishna's
surrender
will.
to Krishna's will.
Yeah. So it's always like keep changing. Like it's
是这个意思。Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Alright, I think we should end here and we'll continue later on. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. SB Keshava Swami.
Hare Krishna. Krishna